Race fans, it's time to buckle in and listen to the fastest hour in racing radio. Your driver is a multi-time NASCAR winner and Hall of Famer Mark Martin. We cover racing, grassroots, history, we bench race, we talk life, and most importantly, we smash the loud pedal. It's time to turn some laps on the Mark Martin Podcast.
Episode number 38 of the Mark Martin Podcast, and we're going to dive into a big year, 1998. One of the biggest years of Mark's career. But before we do that, head on over to the website, markmartinpod.com, markmartinpod.com. Make sure to hit those listen links, give us that 5-star rating, and listen to the many years of Mark Martin's racing career. But Mark, 1998, you've been waiting for this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. And I want to start out by giving credit to Ford. Everybody that raced Fords had a hand in the development of the Taurus, because honestly, the Taurus was one of the ugliest street cars that Ford ever produced. And the deck lid, it was a 4-door car, which was, at that time, was weird because, no one had raced 4-door cars. And it just didn't conform to NASCAR. But the Thunderbird was going away, and that's what they had, and that was their car. That was their number one selling vehicle. Ford's car was the Taurus, and they wanted it on the racetrack. So we had to have some cooperation from NASCAR in order to develop this car, because it was a 4-door car that we were going to convert into something that looked more like a 2-door car. The deck, it was impossible to get the quarter panels to 35 and 36 inches across the back without altering the long template, the silhouette template that went from, across the hood, windshield, roof, rear window, and deck lid. So they let them kick that the deck lid up. They let them swing that baby up. I don't know what it was, probably 4 inches or something, in order to get it where we could hit our, 35 and 36 inches across the back with the normal roof height and all. And so that was a major, that was major. Otherwise the car would have been unusable, unraceable. So we started out, so they made some great downforce with this car. It was very round, and looked like it was smaller in the greenhouse area than the Thunderbird. And so they made some awesome downforce. So we put a car out on the racetrack, went to Daytona, which we didn't expect to be particularly good at Daytona. But we went to Daytona, and of course we had our typical world center of pain by starting 15th and finishing 38th, and I don't remember what happened, but something always went wrong down there. It seemed like we just never could get a break at Daytona. But we went to Rockingham and finished 3rd the next week. Then we go to Vegas. And it was inaugural race at Vegas, and we qualify 7th, but we win that race. And I remember, and I still remember to this day, we won the race. It was incredible. Victory lane. I was in the victory lane with 2 scary-looking showgirls and Wayne Newton and all that stuff. I did all the press and did everything else. And by the time I was ready to, at that time I was helicoptering out, and so out of the races. So, by the time I got all finished with everything and headed over to the helicopter, it was just about dusk. And that helicopter takes off, and as it takes off and lifts up, I actually can look down and I can see the racetrack, and it hit me what we had just accomplished. And it was a really weird feeling because when you're doing it, you don't realize what it is that you've done. It didn't seem like any big deal. For me, victory lane celebrations were not celebrations. They were stuff that were in the way of what I needed to do. Because once we won a race, all I could think about was how we're going to pull off the next win. And jumping through all those hoops and taking all those pictures with everybody's different hat and going to the press room and going on and on and on and on and on there was all a distraction from me getting to how are we going to win next week at Atlanta. And so, I just at that time, I did not recognize what an incredible privilege it was to have the opportunity to realize my dreams. And I had forgotten, about being a little kid in Arkansas dreaming of being a race car driver because, after you've won, so many races and you've been close to winning championships and all that stuff, you get immune to the fact that it's all an incredible privilege just to be there and to have the kind of things that I had, to have Valvoline behind me and all the sponsors and Jack Roush and everybody, Steve Meal and Jimmy Finnig and everybody. Because, like I said before, on the 97 pod, Steve continued on as a general manager of the organization. His duties, and I meant to expand on that more, but Steve's duties had grown so much over the years that, he was doing a dual role. Prior to 97, he was being general manager and being crew chief, which was just more load than one guy could carry effectively. So it was cool. I still work with Steve all the time, every day, and with Jimmy and with Jack. So anyway, I had that moment where I looked down and I saw that racetrack and I realized what we had accomplished and what had just went down. It was a weird moment, and I just thought I would share that with you. But we continue on. We can continue on being fast. But winning the Vegas race created a problem because the top 5 or 6 cars were all Tauruses, and Chevy Camp blew a gasket. And rightly so. We probably had, if I remember correctly, we probably had a 6-inch spoiler, or something like that. And they whacked us after that race. They whacked us an inch off or half inch off or something like that, which was okay. We still were all right. It did clip our wings and set us back a little bit and took us from having the advantage in the downforce area to putting us, maybe a little bit behind, but we could develop that back over time. So we continued to be really strong. We went to Atlanta and qualified 6th and finished 25th. So I don't remember what kind of trouble we had, but we were fast. And then we went to Darlington and sat on the pole and finished 7th. So then to Bristol, 9th qualifying, 7th finish, and then we go to Texas. That gets us back to Texas, where I felt like we had the car to beat in the inaugural race, and blew up, went up in smoke, and Jeff got his first win. But it's time for us to get our vengeance. So we qualify 7th. And late in the race, Chad Little, teammate of mine, is in front of us, and he's fast enough that I can't get by him. We're experienced in the old aero dirty air scenario. I can only get so close to him, and dude, it ain't gonna happen. And the last caution comes out, pit stop comes out, and we call 2 tires Chad puts on 4 and we put on 2 and get out in front of him. And of course, we pull off the win. So it was Chad was really close. If it hadn't have been, if we'd have put 4 tires on and he'd have beat us out of the pits, I bet we wouldn't have ever got by him. So he was really close to getting his first win, getting him a cup win. But we pulled that one off. Jimmy and I, especially Jimmy, making the 2-tire call, but I was lined up with it because didn't look like we were going to win otherwise. And Fontana is another story. And I believe 97 might have been the first year for Fontana. And we're leading the race and going to win the race. Jeff Gordon's right behind us in 97. And with 3 laps to go, we ain't going to make it on gas. Like I told you, we never, ever, ever got fuel mileage. We lost 20 races to fuel mileage, and I had to pit with 3 to go, give the win to Jeff. I had to pit under the green, put some gas in. But Fontana 98 this year was a different story. Qualified 3rd. We got the win. So that was good. And we continue on. I mean, Charlotte's 4th, Dover 7th, Richmond's 5th. Then we go to Michigan and pull off the win there. This is one hell of a year. It's shaping up. We continue on with a lot of really, really good runs. We go to Indianapolis and have a great run there and finish 2nd. And then after Indianapolis, my dad comes down to date. We were living at Spruce Creek, the fly-in community, with the house that had the hangar attached to it. So, I'd fly home from the races and pull up to the hangar, hook the tug in, pull the airplane in to the hangar, and walk from the hangar right into my kitchen. It was a really cool setup. My gym was out in the hangar as well. Well, my dad had purchased the house right next to us that had a hangar in it. Of course, he had a plane. Well, this particular week after Indianapolis, before Watkins Glen, my dad comes down to visit us. My dad and Shelly, his wife, and Sarah, 11-year-old daughter. And it was really, really good. I had a really, really good relationship at this time. My dad had been, sober for, 12 years or more, or somewhere in that area, 10 years, quite a while. And we were really close. And I remember when he got ready to leave, he was there that week. And when he got ready to leave, I remember Sarah and Shelly were loading up into the airplane. They were parked out, behind the house there. And I walked out of the hangar and was walking over to him, and he was walking toward me, and he stuck his hand out to shake hands and said, "I love you, Mark." And so they load up and head out, and I head out to the Glen. And as usual, we run good at the Glen, and we finish 2nd at the Glen. Pile up in the airplane and head home, and I land. We land. When my pilot flies me home after the races, and we get out and we're hooking up the tug, and I'm walking out of the plane toward the gym, the office there in the hangar, and my pilot is hooking up the Jason is hooking up the airplane pull it in, and my mom and my Arlene comes toward me and says, "Mark, your dad's been in a plane accident." And my first thought was, "Oh wow, that's got to hurt." It never occurred to me that it could have been a fatal accident, because my dad his nickname was the Cat, because he should have been dead at least 9 times. I mean, he lived and survived through he was pronounced dead once by the ambulance that picked him up in the early 70s. And they said they called in and said, we're not in any hurry. This guy's dead. And he wasn't. And he didn't, he was just unbelievable. He was invincible. He was my hero as well. And so I didn't think, oh my God. Well, I kind of thought that. I thought, oh shit, bet he's messed up or so. I didn't say that, but I didn't think he was dead. And so, that it was definitely a fatal accident. I mean, there was virtually nothing left of the plane accident. So they all 3 perished. But my initial thought was, oh man, that's going to be a hard one to survive, because he was the Cat. So it was a very tough, very, very, very tough week. And we went to Arkansas for his funeral and all, and everybody that worked at his trucking company loved and adored my dad, even though he was abrasive as hell. And many people that worked for him, he would get mad and brutally, verbally fire them. And then I'd be back there the next month or 2 months later, and they'd be working there again. I'd say, "What happened with so-and-so?" "Oh, hell, I hired him back." My dad was something else, but people loved him, even though you would have thought that a lot of people wouldn't have. But he had such a great heart. And I can't tell you how many people truck drivers came up to me at the funeral and said, "Man, your dad gave me the money for my first truck," or "Your dad gave me the down payment for my house," or whatever else. There's a lot of people, 6 at least. And I've had many people tell me that since then, same kind of thing. He was an amazing guy and a big-hearted guy, but he could sure be rough. Anyway, we got through the funeral, and I loaded up for Michigan and headed up to Michigan. I wasn't going to miss practice, qualifying, or the race. And so we landed in Michigan, and I'm headed over to the racetrack from the airport, and I get a phone call on my cell phone. And it's the President of the United States. My dad and Bill Clinton had a relationship when Bill was governor of Arkansas, and my dad supported Bill, and had actually flown him around some when he was campaigning. Flew him to some of his campaign events and stuff in his airplane, in my dad's airplane. So Bill Clinton called me. It was pretty crazy. So we get out on the racetrack, which is some of the best medicine, but there's super dark cloud over me. My heart's just broken in half. I can't believe this has happened. And we qualified 5th, because that's typical of us. We're fast. And in the race, we're leading the race toward the end of the race. We got this race. We got the race won hands down and there's a lake caution, and we put 4 tires on, and a bunch of guys in front of us put 2 tires on, Jeff Gordon and some others, and Jeff wins the race, and it just breaks my freaking heart. I was already in bad shape and pretty fragile. Really wanted to win the race and dedicate it to my dad and Shelly and Sarah. And it was just devastating because, we had them covered and had it in a bag, and with a few laps to go, saw it slip away. We wound up 4th. And so now the race is over, and I get to at least go home and start the healing process. And so we do. And we go the next week to Bristol and qualified 4th there. And we have a flat in the race and get 2 laps down. And I think this is the race that we got 2 laps down, and we make them up under the green, fighting our way all the way to the front and pull off that win. And it was a very emotional win because I really wanted to dedicate Michigan, immediately after their accident and the funerals. But Bristol would have to do. So an incredible race. I was just totally physically scalded, but we did it. It was an intense race, fighting back from behind like that. So that was a big win. And then we go the next week to Loudon, and we finish second at Loudon, and then we go to Darlington and finish 40th. So it's kind of the MO for us. We're fast until something goes wrong. Then we go to Richmond and run 3rd, and then we win Dover, sit on the pole and win Dover. So now we're really getting to be on a roll with Dover. It had been my best racetrack, but not for results, just for speed for so long. And finally now we're winning every time we go up there for several times in a row. So that was pretty cool. Even Martinsville, one of the racetracks I thoroughly did not like, we finished 3rd. And then we go to Charlotte and we win again. So we wound up this season with incredible. We won the Bud Shootout to start the season off. We win 7 points races, and it is by far, just second, third, fourth, second, third, second. Just top 5 in them to death. I don't remember what the total was, but it seems to me like we finished in the top 5 20-some times. And that may not be correct, but it seemed like it was 23 times. It was amazing. But still yet, we won 7-point races. And I believe we won the and the All-Star race as well. Maybe we didn't win. Maybe this wasn't the year that we won the Bud Shootout, but this is the year that I got the All-Star win, which was pretty cool because we're running 3rd with 2 laps to go, and coming off of going into 3, I get under Bobby Labonte for 2nd, and coming off of 4, I clear Bobby for 2nd place, and Jeff Gordon at the start-finish line, Jeff Gordon pulls over to the inside and runs out of gas. So it was a big surprise, but we won the All-Star race as well. So that was really, really cool. So we do all that, but we're not even close to winning the championship. Jeff Gordon wins 13 races and demolishes me. in the points. So we finished second. So there again, the pressure is starting to mount because 90 we almost had it. And you put together a season like 98 where you win 7 races and Jeff Gordon wins 13. And so between Jeff Gordon and I, we win 20 of the 36 races. It's pretty incredible. But that's kind of a summary of 1998. Heartbreak and triumph.
So 1998, I mean, many people consider it your best year because of the 7 wins. You consider 2009 for various reasons your best season ever. 98 was a great year, but it's also a hard year. There's not any other way to shake it. Won a lot of races, but it, with your dad passing and with Jeff Gordon having all these wins, I mean, again, it's a fantastic year, but you just didn't pull it off.
Just didn't pull it off. Just another one of those years that, you just can't do enough. And that's what it was. But another thing about this season that I missed was, 98, Jimmy came to Liberty to work every day. So he drove, I don't know, a couple hours or whatever it was every day to work. But at the end of 97, we moved the shop to Mooresville. I moved into the shop with Jeff Burton. His shop was in Mooresville. And I'm not sure, I don't remember all the details, and I don't remember if the 16 car stayed in Liberty or what the deal was. And I don't remember why Jack wanted to move us, but I thought it was the right thing because Jeff Burton and the 99 car were seriously taking it to us. I mean, they were showing us some stuff, and I was learning some stuff from their program. And Jack wanted to house us, wanted to move us down there, so we moved into Jeff Burton's shop, into that shop, and raced side by side with the 99 car. And we had a great 97 out of Liberty, winning 4 races, which was pretty incredible with that Thunderbird. But with the Taurus and with the move into the shop with the 99 car, we had a nice little competition, between our teams and our crew guys. But we also had tremendous sharing of information, and really, it really boosted our program a lot to have Jeff and I working closer together than we were when our shops were separate. So that was also a component of 1998. And emotionally, losing my dad is something that I will never get over. I just can't imagine how incredible it would have been to have been able to share the past 20 years, because the best years of my life have been the last 20 years in many ways. And how proud he would have been of 2009, and how much fun we would have had with me being finally not consumed with racing and at the racetrack. And what an incredible character that he was. And it was a tremendous loss. I hate it for Matt. Matt was a little dude. He's about 7 years old. And I remember him standing in the hangar that night when Arlene and I were trying to get information about what had happened, and Matt's saying, "I'm going to miss Granddad."
1998 was also another year of explosive growth in NASCAR, and one of the things that in with your car, there's a lot of different paint schemes that year. And tell us about your thought on all these different paint schemes and these different brands and all the hustle and bustle of having to put up with all of that.
Well, the guys in the shop could really give you plenty of complaints about all that. In the beginning, it was a way, the souvenir business in NASCAR was wildly successful at this time, is really at its peak. And doing different paint jobs was a way to generate even more income. Most cars had one single major sponsor for the season still in 98. So it was a way of kind of generating even more and capitalizing and more. You do a different paint scheme and a different T-shirt, and you do a different die cast, and you sell more stuff. And that was kind of the beginning of the downfall of that part of the industry, because everybody started doing it, and it diluted. It sort of diluted the business, and fans probably got disheartened by it eventually, and that industry pretty much died. It just pretty much dried up. So, you start seeing multiple paint schemes throughout the year, or special paint schemes, and you see more and more of them as we go forward. And you also see less and less sales of souvenirs, because fans either can't afford it or get disheartened by that. Used to, you could buy, a T-shirt and a die cast, and you'd be set for the year of your favorite driver, and that all changed.
Now, tell us about the Hot Wheels car, the Hot Wheels number 6 car. That was a special race. Tell us about that quick.
I kept my focus on the Cup car, but this was an opportunity that Valvoline wanted to be a part of, to go out to L.A. and run the L.A. Grand Prix with a late model car on a road race that would be featured in, what is it, Baywatch? I think it was part of Baywatch. So they used part of that footage in Baywatch. So everybody wanted me to do it, and I got paid good money to do it. So it seems like that was Darlington weekend, like we raced on Sunday at Darlington, and I got in a plane and flew all night and raced Monday in the LA Grand Prix, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I do remember it was all night or whatever it was to get out there and do the deal, but it was pretty cool. And it is. I've seen a clip of it actually, even lately. I think it was Baywatch that it was on. A car goes by, you see a car or something. I wasn't in it, but the car was. So anyway, that's what that story is. I don't have all the details, but that's what I remember of it.
Now, speaking of another special paint scheme or side race that you were doing, this goes back to 97, but talk about the race in Japan.
I didn't want to go to Japan. Jack didn't want to go to Japan. We fought it tooth and nail. NASCAR put the pressure on everybody to go to Japan, and we didn't for the first 3 years, and then we got kind of forced into it. After skipping out so long, it was like, now we got to go. So we went and did that deal. We showed up at Japan. It was a Saturday practice and qualifying and a Sunday race. And Saturday morning, I go to the racetrack. It's raining. It rains all day. So we practice in the rain. I'd never been there, of course, Suzuka, and it was before the days of video games where you could learn the racetrack. So anyway, rained all day, so we practiced in the rain and qualified in the rain, sat on the pole in the rain, and then Sunday morning it's bright sunshine. And so we had no idea what to do for setup. And so anyway, long story short about the race, we make a pit stop and get beat out of the pits by Larry McReynolds and Mike Skinner. And Mike did an awesome job. I couldn't pass him. You know, I was quick enough to stay on his heels, but couldn't pass him, and Mike won the race. But we led until the last pit stop where they beat us out of the pits. So we led the race a lot. So they come over after the race and want to give me it paid money to lead the laps, lap leading money. So they wanted to give me cash. Of course, it was yen, whatever, Japanese yen, I guess. It was yen. So I'm like, count it up, and I'm thinking this. I count it up, and it's like $60,000. Well, I'm like, holy cow! I got some jack. So anyway, I bring it home, and I give it. Of course, I give it to Roush Racing, you know, because they collect all the purse money and then divide it out. They get paid back. So get paid what I get paid. And I had messed up on the decimal point. It was $6,000, not $60,000. So I thought, man, I was bringing home, you know, this big, huge pile of money. I didn't declare it, you know, because I didn't want to. I didn't know. It seemed like it was cash. I didn't know. I thought we might not have to pay taxes on it. I didn't know. So anyway, brought it home. But then I discovered that I'd missed it by a decimal point, and when I was doing my math on it. So that's the story about Japan.
What was the travel like over there? I mean, long, tedious. Did you enjoy your time at least?
No, I didn't want to go. I hated every minute of it. I would have rather been horsewhipped than go do that. I was not interested in going. Didn't want to go. Hated it. It was after the season, man. You do 38 races and everything that you do and all the testing and all the personal appearances and all the sponsor deals and all that stuff, and all you want to do is have a damn day off. And you got to go all the way to frickin' Japan. I hated it. I went there, of course, they bussed us from the airport to the racetrack. Right, the racetrack was right on. It was right at amusement park thing. There was hotels there, so I stayed in the hotel and walked from the hotel to the racetrack on Saturday. And I thought, after practice was over and everything, and it was raining, I thought, well, heck, I'll catch this bus back to the hotel. Well, I get in the bus, and it goes 3 or 4 different places, winds up out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm the last person left on the bus, and the guy don't speak English, and I'm like, I'm screwed. I don't even know where I can't communicate. But his next stop was back to our hotel. So anyway, no, I would have rather been horsewhipped than to go do that. But we did it and checked it off the list. We had to. We had to do it to satisfy NASCAR.
Well, that'll wrap it up for episode number 38 of the Mark Martin Podcast. Again, hit that website, markmartinpod.com, markmartinpod.com. Get all of your old episodes, listen links, subscribe, and give us that 5-star rating.
Thank you for subscribing and listening to the Mark Martin Podcast. Remember to give us a 5-star rating in your app store. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mark Martin POD. The Mark Martin Podcast is a production of the Accelerated Podcast Network.